Well, it looks like a tech takedown is in the works. New reports reveal that the companies Apple, Twitter, and Google and Instagram, not small companies, are colluding to defeat Donald Trump in the election. Are they actually doing that? Here to weigh in is Daily Caller reporter, one of the finest in the business, Alex Pfeiffer. Alex Pfeiffer, great to see you this morning.
Hey, Tucker. Pleasure to be
here. So
here.
these are huge companies. They control a massive percentage of the news Americans consume. If it is true that they're colluding to defeat Trump, that's a big deal. Do you think it is true?
Well, there's a bunch of reports for these news companies. You have Twitter banning Breitbart columnist Milo Yiannopoulos from the website. BuzzFeed reported a couple days ago that during a Q&A Barack Obama was hosting on the website, they filtered out messages that could be offensive to him or negative towards him. Then on Google, Chairman Eric Schmidt set up the groundwork, which reportedly received $400,000 from the Clinton campaign to set up a tech infrastructure. Then on Facebook earlier this year, we had the whole reports about them promoting liberal stories on their trending news topics, and Mark Zuckerberg berating employees for supporting All Lives Matter. So there certainly is evidence to show that they have a liberal bias.
That's remarkable. If true, the idea that Twitter filtered out questions hostile to President Obama during what they billed as a live exchange with actual people, that's kind of shocking, isn't it? Do you think that is true?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's multiple sources for it, and there's definitely they've shown they have, for example, you can report offensive speech on Twitter.
Yes.
So it's definitely a pretty big deal. I mean, this is one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, and people aren't turning to the nightly news anymore to get their information. They're turning to Facebook, Twitter, and Google, and all these have reported instances of liberal bias. So that's something we should be worrying about.
So, I mean, look, if the New York Times were doing this, or the Washington Post, or Fox News was caught pretending to be, objective in a Q&A with the President of the United States, but filtering out questions that, weren't helpful to the cause, that would be a major scandal. This Twitter story seems to have sunk beneath the waves, though. Yeah,
it doesn't seem, people seem, I mean, if they were showing a conservative bias, the Democratic Party would be clamoring for a state-run internet. People don't seem to care. It's mainly because we can't escape this. You mentioned Instagram earlier. Well, Instagram's owned by Facebook. There's no real competitors to a lot of these things. If the New York Times is showing a bias, you can go to the Daily Caller. But if Twitter's showing a bias, where do people escape to?
Well, that's a great question. Now, the Obama administration has suggested that we ought to view the Internet really as a public utility. Yeah. So is there a role, at least theoretically, for the government, which regulates the broadcast networks, as you know, to step in and say, if you're going to pretend to be an unbiased pipeline through which news flows, then you have to actually be that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the FCC does regulate media companies. They're somewhat restricted by the First Amendment and how they could affect how Twitter's operations are or what they censor or not. But if they are, pretending to be, Twitter said they're the free speech party, the free speech wing. If they're going to say that they're not really a free speech, maybe there could be a lawsuit or something. But I think it'd be mainly user complaints that could change this.
Yeah. So if you're going to be the arbiter of free speech, you ought to let speech be free.
Yeah.
And not crush people you disagree with. Alex Pfeiffer, great to see you this morning. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.